Let me tell you something real today. If you don't understand your value, don't expect a man to understand it either. A man will only treat you the way you consistently allow him to treat you. Your value isn't decided by your beauty, your body, or how many people want you. How many people want you. Your value is decided by your standards, your self-respect, and how you carry yourself. Now listen carefully, because I'm about to tell you 5 things that will kill your value in front of a man. First, chasing him. A woman who is constantly calling, texting, double texting, checking his status, and asking where he is every minute sends a message. And that message is not love, it's insecurity. A man is built to pursue. When you take over the chase, you remove the mystery. You remove the challenge. And when there's no challenge, there's no excitement. There's no excitement. Second, accepting disrespect. The first time he jokes about you in a way that hurts, the first time he ignores your feelings, the first time he crosses a boundary and you stay silent, you just lowered your own value. A man watches what you tolerate. If you tolerate small disrespect, he will test bigger disrespect. Standards aren't something you announce. They're something you enforce. Third, competing with other women. If you ever feel like you have to fight for a man's attention, you already lost. A high-value woman doesn't compete. She replaces. She understands that if a man can't see her worth clearly, that's his limitation, not hers. The moment you start comparing yourself, you shrink your power. Fourth, oversharing too soon. Telling him your whole life story, your traumas, your exes, your deepest fears in the first week, that's emotional exposure without emotional security. Mystery builds respect. Depth should be revealed over time. When you give everything too quickly, there's nothing left to discover. Fifth, having no life outside of him. If he becomes your only source of happiness, your only topic of conversation, your only plan, you just made him your center. And a man does not value what revolves entirely around him. He values a woman with purpose, ambition, friends, goals, and passion. Understand this. Value is not about playing games. It's about self-control. It's about emotional maturity. It's about knowing that you are the prize, not because you say it, but because you live like it. When you respect yourself deeply, people adjust. When you protect your peace, people think twice before disturbing it. And when you know your worth, you don't beg to be chosen. You choose. When you start chasing a man, you slowly start lowering your own value without even realizing it. And I want you to really understand what chasing looks like. It's not just running after him physically, it's calling him first every single time. It's sending long emotional messages when he replies with one word. It's double texting because he didn't answer in 5 minutes. It's rearranging your entire schedule just to fit into his free time. It's constantly asking, where are we going? Before he's even shown consistent effort, that right there is chasing. See, a man is naturally wired to pursue what he has to work for. Where something feels earned, it feels valuable. But when you make yourself overly available, when you respond instantly every time, when you show him that no matter what he does, you will still be there waiting, you remove the thrill of pursuit. And when the pursuit is gone, interest often fades with it. Chasing usually comes from fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of not being enough. Fear of not being enough. Fear that if you don't do more, someone else will. But let me tell you something clearly. The more you try to secure a man through pressure and constant attention, the more you push him away. A confident woman doesn't chase. She attracts. She doesn't beg for consistency. She expects it. When you chase, you unintentionally communicate that you value him more than you value yourself. You show him that your time is less important. Your plans are flexible for him. Your boundaries can bend for him. And once a man senses that imbalance, he may start putting in less effort because he knows you compensate for it. Now let's be real. Calling him sometimes is not chasing. Showing interest is not chasing. But when you are always the initiator, always the planner, always the emotional investor, and he is just responding when it's convenient, that's not partnership. That's imbalance. And imbalance kills attraction. Men respect what they have to earn. If he has to think about you, wonder about you, miss you a little, plan to see you, that builds value. When you give him space to step up, you allow him to show you who he really is. But when you constantly fill the silence, when you constantly close every gap, you never give him the opportunity to pursue. Another thing about chasing is that it makes you anxious. You start checking your phone every few minutes. You analyze his last scene. You overthink his tone. You lose peace. And the moment you lose your peace over someone who hasn't even proven themselves, you've already given away too much power. High value energy is calm. It's secure. It's knowing that if he doesn't call, you still have a life. If he doesn't text back, immediately you're still busy. If he doesn't make plans, you already have your own. That energy is attractive because it shows independence and emotional stability. When you stop chasing, something powerful happens. You start observing instead of forcing. You start watching his effort. You start noticing whether he is intentional or just convenient. And that clarity protects you from investing in someone who isn't investing in you. A man who truly wants you does not need to be hunted down. He will call, he will plan, he will show up, not perfectly, but consistently. Your job is not to convince him to see your worth. Your job is to maintain your worth by not overextending yourself. Attraction grows in space, not pressure. Interest grows in mystery, not constant availability. And respect grows when you respect yourself enough to say, I will not chase someone who is unsure about me. When you hold back from chasing, you are not playing games. You are protecting your value. You are allowing natural roles to unfold. You are giving him the opportunity to lead. And if he doesn't step up, you didn't lose anything. You gain clarity. Never confuse effort with desperation. Effort is mutual. Desperation is one-sided. When you feel yourself doing all the emotional, heavy lifting, step back. Let him feel your absence. Let him notice the difference. And if he doesn't, that tells you everything you need to know. Your value increases when your presence is felt, not forced. When you move with confidence instead of fear, when you choose patience over pressure, when you allow yourself to be pursued instead of becoming the pursuer, you automatically elevate how a man sees you. Because at the end of the day, the one who chases is trying to be chosen. But the one who waits with confidence is the one who does the choosing. The fastest way to lower your value in front of a man is to accept disrespect the first time it shows up. Disrespect rarely starts big. It starts small. A joke that feels a little too sharp. A comment about your appearance that doesn't sit right. Ignoring your messages for days but being active everywhere else. Canceling plans last minute without apology. Speaking to you in a tone he would never use with someone he truly fears losing. These small moments, SAS or tests, and how you respond teaches him how to treat you. A man pays attention to what you tolerate. If he crosses a boundary and you laugh it off when it actually hurt you, he learns that he can do it again. If he dismisses your feelings and you quickly change the subject to keep the peace, he learns that your emotions are negotiable. If he disappears for days and comes back with a casual, "Hey, stranger," and you respond with excitement instead of accountability, he learns that consistency is optional. When you accept disrespect, it's often because you don't want conflict. You tell yourself it's not that serious. It's not that serious. You convince yourself you're being understanding, patient, cool, unbothered, but there is a difference between being mature and being silent about things that chip away at your dignity. Every time you ignore something that hurts you, you send a message that your comfort matters less than keeping him around. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you require, and you don't require it by shouting or threatening. You require it by calmly addressing what you will and will not accept. You require it by stepping back when someone crosses a line. You require it by being willing to walk away if the behavior continues. The first time he interrupts you repeatedly while you are speaking and you say nothing, that becomes a habit. The first time he compares you to another woman and you smile through it, that becomes normal. The first time he makes plans with you and then chooses his friends without communication, and you accept it without consequence. You just taught him that your time is flexible and replaceable. A high-value woman does not explode over small things, but she also does not ignore patterns. She observes. She speaks clearly. She sets boundaries early, not after months of silent frustration. Because when you wait too long to address disrespect, it becomes harder to change the dynamic. The standard you accept in the beginning becomes a standard you live with later. Accepting disrespect often comes from fear of being alone. You think if you speak up, he might leave. But what is worse? Losing a man who disrespects you, or keeping him while losing your self-respect. The more you swallow your feelings, the more resentment builds. And resentment slowly destroys attraction from the inside. A man who truly values you does not need constant correction. He may make mistakes, yes, everyone does. But when you communicate that something hurt you, he adjusts. If he doesn't adjust, that's not misunderstanding. That's disregard. And disregard is a red flag you should never ignore. You don't raise your value by tolerating bad behavior. You raise your value by protecting your standards. When you calmly say, "I don't like that," and you mean it, you shift the energy. When you don't reward inconsistency with attention, you shift the power. When you respond to disrespect with distance instead of desperation, you create consequences. Silence in the face of disrespect is often interpreted as acceptance, and acceptance becomes permission. The more permission you give, the further someone will go. It's human nature to test limits. That's why boundaries matter. The way you speak about yourself also influences respect. If you constantly joke about being crazy, insecure, or difficult, he may start treating you like you are those things. If you downplay your achievements or act like you don't deserve good treatment, he may believe you. Confidence isn't loud. It's firm. It's steady. It's knowing that kindness and respect are minimum requirements, not bonuses. When you stop accepting disrespect, you might notice something interesting. Some men will step up. They will correct their behavior because they realize you are not easily replaceable. Others will step away because they were benefiting from your silence. Either outcome is a win, because the goal is not to keep every man. Because the goal is not to keep every man. The goal is to keep your dignity.
Your value rises the moment you decide that being liked is less important than being respected.
A man can be attracted to many women, but he deeply values the one who knows her boundaries and enforces them calmly. When he sees that you will not tolerate carelessness, he understands that being with you requires maturity. You don't need to threaten to leave. You just need to mean it if it becomes necessary. That quiet strength changes everything. Because at the end of the day, love without respect never lasts. And the moment you protect your self-respect, you protect your value in a way no one can take from you. Another thing that quietly destroys your value in front of a man is competing with other women for his attention. The moment you feel like you have to prove that you're better than someone else to keep him interested, you've already stepped into a position beneath your true worth. Attraction is not a competition. Love is not an audition. And if a man makes you feel like you're one option in a lineup, you should never volunteer to perform for the spotlight. Competing can look subtle at first. You start dressing a certain way because you know he likes that on someone else. You change your personality to match what he compliments in other women. You monitor who likes his posts. You compare your body, your face, your lifestyle, your success. You begin measuring yourself against strangers who don't even know you exist. And slowly, your confidence starts shrinking. When you compete, you shift your focus from being authentic to being approved. You stop asking yourself, do I even like this man? And start asking, how can I make him choose me? That mental shift alone, where's your value? Because a high-value woman doesn't fight to be chosen. She evaluates whether someone deserves access to her. If a man openly entertains multiple women and expects you to outperform them, he is showing you his mindset. A man who truly sees your worth will not create unnecessary triangles. He won't flirt publicly to provoke jealousy. He won't compare you to his ex or to other women to make you insecure. If he does, and you respond by trying harder instead of stepping back, you reinforce that behavior. Jealousy can make you act out of character. You might post things to get his attention. You might try to make him jealous in return. You might question him aggressively about other women. All of that comes from insecurity, and insecurity is not attractive. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to compete. Here's something powerful. When you refuse to compete, you stand out automatically because most people react emotionally. Most people fight for attention. When you remain calm, when you refuse to chase validation, when you say to yourself, if he doesn't see my value, that's his loss, you shift the power dynamic completely. Competing also creates anxiety. You start overanalyzing everything. Why did he like her picture? Why did he follow her? Why did he mention her name? Instead of enjoying the connection, you're constantly in defense mode. That pressure drains your energy and makes you act from fear instead of strength. If a man truly wants you, you won't have to elbow your way into his life. He will make space for you naturally. He will prioritize you without being forced. And if he doesn't, that is information. It doesn't mean you lacking. It means he's not aligned. When you compete, you also send a message that you believe you are replaceable. And people treat you according to the value you project. If why? Oh, act like you're one of many fighting for a position, he may start seeing you that way. But when you act like you are selective, like you have options too, like your presence is a privilege, the energy changes. A woman who knows her worth does not tear other women down to elevate herself. She doesn't insult them. She doesn't stalk them. She doesn't try to mimic them. She understands that uniqueness is power. The moment you start copying someone else, you lose the very thing that makes you magnetic. Competing also distracts you from observing his character. Instead of noticing whether he is consistent, honest, and emotionally available, you're focused on winning. But what exactly are you winning? A man who enjoys attention from multiple women, a man who feels validated by creating insecurity, that prize isn't valuable. True confidence says, I will not fight for a position in someone's life. I will accept a role that is clearly offered to me, and if it's not the one I deserve, I will walk away. That mindset is powerful because it removes desperation. The right man will not require you to outperform anyone. He will recognize your qualities without comparison. He will feel secure enough not to create rivalry. And he will respect you more because you respect yourself enough not to beg for his focus. The moment you stop competing is the moment you regain your peace. You stop checking, comparing, and proving. You return to being yourself. And authenticity is far more attractive than performance. When you carry yourself with the energy of someone who knows she is enough without rivalry, you automatically elevate your value. You'll automatically elevate your value. Because at the end of the day, if a man can't decide between you and someone else, let him choose the other option. A man who sees you as irreplaceable will never put you in a position to compete in the first place. Another thing that quietly lowers your value in front of a man is oversharing too soon. In the beginning of any connection, there is something powerful called mystery. Mystery builds curiosity. Curiosity builds attraction. But when you reveal everything about yourself in the first few conversations, you remove the natural process of discovery that creates depth. Oversharing often comes from excitement. You finally meet someone who listens, someone who seems interested, and you feel safe opening up. So you start telling him about your childhood trauma, your past relationships, your deepest fears, your family drama, your financial struggles, your insecurities. You explain why your last relationship failed. You confess how badly you want this one to work. And you do all of this before he has proven that he deserves that level of access. Vulnerability is beautiful, but timing is everything. When you share your entire emotional history with someone who hasn't yet shown consistency, you are investing more than he has earned. Emotional access is a privilege, not a gift you hand out to anyone who asks the right questions. When you overshare too soon, you can unintentionally overwhelm the dynamic. A man may feel pressure before he has even decided how serious he wants to be. He may feel responsible for healing wounds he didn't create. Or worse, he may use that information against you later during arguments. Not every man does this, but if you give sensitive information too early, you take that risk. There's also something about pacing that increases value. When a man learns about you layer by layer, he becomes more invested. Each conversation reveals something new. Each experience adds depth. That gradual unfolding keeps him curious. But when you put your entire story on the table immediately, there's nothing left to explore. You fast forward intimacy without building foundation. Oversharing can expose insecurity. When you constantly talk about how you've been hurt before, how men always leave, how you're afraid of being abandoned, you may think you're being honest. But what he hears is fear. Fear signals instability. And instability can make a man hesitant
especially early on. It's important to understand that not every thought needs to be spoken immediately. Silence can be powerful. Holding parts of yourself until trust is built shows emotional maturity. It shows that you value your story. It shows that you don't attach quickly to just anyone who shows interest. Another form of oversharing is constant emotional updates. Telling him every time you feel anxious about the relationship, asking for reassurance every day, seeking validation for small things. When you depend on him to stabilize your emotions too early, it creates imbalance. A healthy connection grows through mutual support, not emotional dependency from day one. There's a difference between being open and being unguarded. Openness says, I will share when the time is right. Unguarded says, here is everything about me, please accept me. The first one shows strength. The second one can signal desperation. When you slow down and protect your personal details, you build intrigue. You show that access to your inner world must be earned. And when a man feels like he has earned something, he values it more. The same way people value things they work for, emotional depth becomes more meaningful when it is revealed gradually. Oversharing also sometimes leads to premature attachment. When you talk about future plans, marriage, children, and forever, in the first few weeks, you create expectations that may not align with reality yet. It could scare off someone who is still evaluating the connection. It's not wrong to desire those things, but timing matters. You must allow a relationship to breathe. Let conversations flow naturally. Let him ask questions. Let him show curiosity. Let him earn deeper answers. The right man will appreciate that you don't rush intimacy. He will respect that you guard your experiences carefully. There is power in composure. There is power in revealing yourself slowly. When you don't rush to fill every silence with personal details, when you don't over-explain your past, when you allow him to discover who you are, over time, you increase your perceived value. Because at the end of the day, not everyone deserves full access to your story. Your experiences shaped you. Your struggles built you. Your vulnerabilities are sacred. When you treat them as sacred, others will too. And when a man realizes that getting to know you deeply is a journey, not a download, he is far more likely to stay invested in discovering you